I know the title says the NCAA and NFL wanted to make an example out of Shedeur Sanders, but in reality, it's not just about Shedeur Sanders. Mainly is, but not just about him. It's this whole entire quarterback class, and we're gonna get right into it. So, why do I say the NCAA and the NFL wanted to make an example out of Shedeur Sanders and this whole, quite frankly, this whole quarterback class? NIL money, all right? Because they're basically saying this: you're going to be hard pressed in the draft to get drafted if you're not going first round. Why is that important? You saw what happened with Shedeur Sanders. Now, that was a really awkward case. There's a lot of detailed nuances that we'll go into in a second, but the reality is this: he didn't get drafted in the second round. He got drafted in the fifth round. Now, why is that an awkward issue? Well, the awkward issue is in his entire quarterback room, he is probably making the most money in terms of brand deals. He's making more money in brand deals than Joe Flacco, than Kenny Pickett, than Dylan Gabriel, than, Deshaun Watson. I don't know if anyone is sponsoring him at this point, but who knows? He's still starting. Well, he was still starting quarterback, so maybe. But either way, if anyone else is Deshaun Watson, has more in brand deals than Shedeur, but let's be honest, Shedeur has a national TV spot with Gatorade. He's signed to Panini exclusively. He is also signed to Nike. I think he's a Nike athlete as well. So again, let's be for real here. You basically, if you're second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. round draft pick, and you're making all this NIL money, and you have all these brand deals signed up, but you get drafted so low, it looks really bad on the brands that took a chance on you. It also puts a lot of pressure on whatever team drafts you to make sure you play right away, especially if you're a quarterback, which is why I say a quarterback draft, because receivers and other position groups, there's a way to kind of manipulate that and get you where you got to get to and still get you some reps. A quarterback is in every offensive snap. He is the CEO, or at least the face of your franchise. A quarterback is very important and very hard to replace, very hard to find, and is damn near irreplaceable depending on who you are. That's why quarterbacks get so much money. That's why quarterback money, at some point, I think in the next 30 years, is going to be completely separated from the cap hit, and coaches will be included into the cap. Now, again, it puts a lot of pressure on the team to draft you. For example, going into the video most about Shedeur. Shedeur has a huge fan base. He has a lot of money, more money than any other. He probably has the most money out of any other fifth round draft pick in the history of the NFL. He has TV spots and deals that every other quarterback in his QB room doesn't have. They don't have what he has. That's being honest. Now, Joe Flacco and Deshaun Watson obviously have more bread than he does, but that's just because of longevity in the league. I would be surprised if both of them combined had nearly a quarter of what Shedeur is worth right now going into this team. Okay? And not only that, he's the fifth round pick that is now overshadowing every single other pick that the Browns have made. It completely overshadows their first round pick. It completely overshadows their second, third, and fourth round pick. Shedeur is, for all intents and purposes, their first round draft pick because he makes first round draft pick money, not from NFL salary because he lost like $40 million, but from just NIL evaluation and then sponsorships and brand deals. And he's going to get more. Bro, as soon as he got drafted, the amount of ads that flooded the internet was insane. Delta Airlines has a commercial ad with Shedeur Sanders. Gatorade, Nike, Panini, you name it, they have an ad for him. So many organizations that are worth billions upon billions of dollars have invested into Shedeur Sanders. The pressure to start Shedeur Sanders, or at least, if nothing else, to at least give him more generously than a fair shot than a fifth round draft pick would ever get to fight for the starting job is there. The Browns cannot pity Shedeur. The Browns cannot just draft Shedeur Sanders like this and then let him go. They would catch weight. The heat wouldn't be worth it. And the amount of money that it looks like the Browns are going to get as an organization based off Shedeur Sanders' name alone looks insane, which is why there's a viral campaigns going around to buy Shedeur Sanders merch from Shedeur Sanders' website, official website, instead of the NFL website or Browns website or Fanatics and anything like that, because they want to make up for as much money as they can for Shedeur losing $40 million in value because of where he got drafted. No other player is getting that kind of support. It's gotten so ridiculous that it got so funny and ridiculous, so much of a circus, that Dillon Gabriel was the quarterback that got drafted before Shedeur Sanders to the same organization. They could have called privately Gabriel and congratulated him, welcomed him, blah, blah, blah. Publicly, not that I've seen yet, or at least before Shedeur, publicly, do you have players that are going to be his future teammates on the Browns, or not even future, that is his teammates on the Browns, publicly tweeted, hey, welcome to the team, hey, use this as fuel. And they're not just anybody, they're like team leaders, like team captains, like vital pieces to the organization that have reached out to him publicly and said, hey, yo, welcome to the team, use this as fuel, let's get ready to work, we're happy you're here. Why do you say that? Because everyone and their mother knows Shedeur Sanders should have been a first-round pick or at least no later than second-round pick. Everyone and their mother saw how crazy viral the watch celebration was for Shedeur. He had NFL athletes doing it. He had English Premier League soccer players doing the celebration. He had rugby players doing. Everyone was doing the watch celebration. It wasn't just Shedeur Sanders. Once he did it, a lot of people started doing it. Just like the night celebration with Steph, people started doing it. When you have that much popularity, you have that much swagger, you can't be ignored. Shedeur cannot go put, like, I saw a lot of the NFL analysts, oh, Shedeur can just put his head down and go to work. He can, but the world will not allow him. He's too popular. He is literally a celebrity. And not just because he's Deion's son. He went into an organization who had one win prior to him being there. And eventually threw for 4,000, I'm not counting both his years, but like at least his last year, 4,000 yards, 3,000? I think 4,000 yards passing and 30 plus touchdowns is what Shedeur did. Now, they didn't make the college playoffs both years he was there. Second year was way closer. People forget about his first year going there. He went band for band with Caleb Williams, who was the first round draft pick the draft prior. They lost that game, but remember, USC was smacking them, and Shedeur led a comeback and almost won that game. Let's not forget. He went band for band with arguably, people were saying, one of the best quarterbacks in the history of prospects outside of Trevor Lawrence. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's who Shedeur Sanders was out here dueling and doing his thing. Like, don't get it twisted about Shedeur Sanders. So, why I say to make an example of him, again, circling back, this is another thing of the NFL and NCAA saying, hey, when you take all this NIL money, you accept all this NIL money, and you accept all these brand deal stuff before you get drafted, be careful. Or before you make it to the pros, because now they can when they're college athletes. Before you make it to pros, be careful, because this can harm your draft stock. Not even on conspiracy theorist level, but just like, hey, now they're going to make you slide, but you're going to slide because you're going to be too much of a distraction if you're not someone we're going to pick round one who's going to, with the intention of starting day one. That's just the truth. For example, Jackson Dart got drafted round one. Yeah, round one. He's not going to start day one, but he also doesn't have the pool. He doesn't have all the all the situation that surrounds Shedeur Sanders. Jackson Dart doesn't have. So Jackson Dart can actually put his head down, not start for a year or two and get some legs underneath him, right? Shedeur, the pressure Stefanski and the Cleveland Brown organization is going to face tomorrow, like not even in the future, like tomorrow, like today. Like, I'm telling you, the pressure's humongous. They're going to pressure the Browns to make sure that number 2 jersey goes to Shedeur Sanders. All right, they're going to like, hey, where's Deuce? Where's number 2 at, bro? That's going to happen. If Shedeur balls out during preseason, they're going to be like, hey, yo, why are you starting Joe Flacco when Shedeur Sanders is here? It's legendary time. Let's get it. Like, what are we doing? Listen, it puts pressure on Joe Flacco. It puts pressure on whoever's in the depth chart. It puts pressure on Kenny Pickett. It puts pressure on Dillon Gabriel. Like I said, Dillon Gabriel got drafted before Shedeur Sanders. And no one, at least to my knowledge, publicly reached out to him. They could have privately, publicly reached out to him and said, hey, let's get this working, or welcome to the team. Or at least if they did, they didn't do it like Shedeur Sanders, bro. I'm telling you, the support for Shedeur Sanders from NFL athletes is insane. And there's athletes who spoke out on Shedeur's behalf without really speaking out for obvious reasons. Patrick Mahomes. Just a lot of players. A lot of players fuck with Shedeur Sanders heavy. So you have this situation now where it's going to come to the fact that a lot of these organizations are going to be like, hey, before you accept this money and all this other stuff, you better look out, because look what happened to Shedeur. Shedeur's an example. Look what happened to Ewers. Ewers is a really good quarterback, and he got to he fell to the seventh round to Miami. Dillon Gabriel, honestly, is a weird exception. That whole thing was weird. So you have situations where it's like you'll be careful. Now, I don't think it's going to do much. I think it's NCAA's fault that NIL and all this stuff has got out of hand, because they should have done this decades ago, and by now would have had a better structure on how to do this. And the kind of corruption they've let go for so long is catching up to them. So I do not feel bad. The NFL has a lot of explaining to do. They have to explain why and how Shedeur's number that he just got and was NFL GM exclusivity, how that got leaked, and there's a lot of moving pieces to suggest that GM gave it to one of their children, because we identified who did the prank call. We identified what school they're from, and allegedly one of the people in the video is a son of Atlanta's defensive coordinator, I think, or something like that. But also the Giants GM daughter goes to Ole Miss as well. So there's people who leaked this thing. It's either Giants or the Falcons was looking like. So if that's the case, and you leaked a number for a prospect and pranked that and used another GM who was not even anywhere involved in this to prank a prospect that way, a fine's coming, suspensions probably come, because that's private information, and I can see a loss of draft pick. So that's going to be something to look at as well. And Shedeur sliding from projected number 1 to the 5th round pick is weird. The fact that Cleveland had the number 2 pick, the fact that Cleveland could have drafted Travis Hunter with the 2nd pick, and then drafted Shedeur, and didn't do that, but instead wait to the 3rd round to pick up Dillon Gabriel, to just turn around in the 5th round to pick up Shedeur Sanders, is malpractice. Something happened somewhere. Okay, it looked like Cleveland was always going to draft Shedeur. It looks like they were always going to draft Shedeur Sanders. For whatever reason, they waited. Because the fact that they moved up on the Eagles in order to pick him means that I'm telling you, it just means they're all going to pick him up. So now the question becomes, because there's a video out there, a viral video of them looking not happy at all that they picked him. Every other draft pick, even the one after Shedeur, they were like, yeah, we got our guy. Shedeur, no smiling, no nothing. The way they're talking about him in the presser was really weird, a really toxic culture, and that's why Cleveland, as an organization, Cleveland Browns, suck. I think one of two things happen. Either the owner stepped in at some point and said, we are not drafting Shedeur Sanders until way later in the draft for whatever reason, or and then they drafted Dylan Gabriel, and they made them draft Dylan Gabriel first and then Shedeur last, or they were not going to draft Shedeur for whatever reason, or they just moved off him for whatever reason, and the owner stepped in and said, hey, what are you doing? Draft Shedeur Sanders right now. And they drafted him. One of the two. Because the look on their faces looked like, oh, we had it like, here, damn, we finally drafted the kid. Or it was, damn, we could have had Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders out around 1 and 2 and been done with it. Like we could have been done with it. If we're going to get him anyway, we could have gotten his best receiver and his for all intents and purposes, his brother from another mother. We could have had that. But instead, now we have 5 quarterbacks, 2 running backs. Hey, yo, man. Cleveland, get your stuff together. But congrats on Shador Sanders getting drafted. There are other videos I want to make, but I just really wanted to talk about that because the Pistons-Knicks game's on, so I want to go watch that so I can do a review on that. And we're going to talk about the Golden State Warriors because Steph Curry's a monster. See you on the next one. Tell me your thoughts down below. Peace.